And a good Monday evening to you all. It's time for the Bears Coaches Show with head coach Matt Eberflus. Jeff Joniak with you until 8 o'clock here tonight on News Radio 105.9 WBBM. We've got Monday Night Football joined in progress at 8 on 780 AM. The news will continue on 105.9 FM. Long before we get there, let's begin. Matt, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. This team is banged up, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we had some injuries yesterday at MetLife, and we'll be searching through those and working through those with the doctors here in the next 48 hours. We'll see where it is. Obviously, we lost Mooney for the year, with the ankle. So we'll go from there with him. And again, I talked to him. He's a little bit down, but he's still here with the team, and he's going to be around with us, and we'll see where it goes from there. But what a great year he had. I mean, he started to really get a good spark with Justin and did an excellent job blocking on the perimeter. And he actually got injured on the one where, Montgomery ended up punching it out of there from the -1. Did a really nice job. It was just unfortunate. He was blocking his guy and went to tackle Montgomery and swung around and kind of hit him in the leg. But again, what a great job he did. And more importantly, what a teammate he is. He's a great teammate. What great leadership from him. But we're excited about his future.
Yeah, I just talked to him last week just about the future, and the patience involved with an offense that wants to run the ball and what is asked of him, and he embraced it. But he was just really optimistic about where Justin's headed, where the offense is headed. So that's always a blow late in the season. How do you talk a guy down off of that? He's a pretty pragmatic guy in general, though, so...
Yeah, he's always upbeat and positive. He's that by nature, and he's always going to be a good teammate. Again, it'll take some rehab and all those things, getting through that, but he'll be ready to go here shortly.
Tight ends get rolled up on a lot. We used to say more man hours lost at the tight end position than any other. That has since kind of changed in the league. They become more athletic, where they're more inline blockers before. Offensive linemen get it, but it's kind of rare that receivers are asked to do as much blocking in this situation. It is an occupational hazard, isn't it? Because you get rolled up on, there's no way that you know it's coming.
Yeah, you just got to be mindful of it and hopefully be able to keep your feet moving as the traffic comes to you and do your best.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback situation yesterday, close to kickoff, rare occurrence even for you, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird deal. Trevor's out there, before the pregame warm-up, ended up straining his oblique, and then comes in and, says, hey, let me get some medication and see how I feel, and potentially Nate was going to, could step in there for that role. He was ready to do that, but it worked out good. He went out to warm-ups, and he threw the ball fine, and Trevor did, of course, and then he ended up, going and then scoring 10 points in his first 2 drives and against a really good defense.
And after the game, he said he was almost embarrassed that it happened. But, again, these things do happen, and if you can find a way to plow through it, which he did, no apology necessary, right? I mean,
no, he prepared well all week, and he did a really good job the entire week. Because obviously we didn't know what was going to happen with Justin during the week, and we had to play it by ear, so he had to do a lot of mental preparation as well.
All right, how do you think the coaching staff handled this? Because you had to have plans.
No, I think it was good. Yeah. Like I said during the press conferences last week, we just really needed to set things aside for Trevor and then for Justin. Justin obviously is a unique player. In a lot of ways, and can do a lot of different things that a lot of players can't do. And but we have a system. We have a system in place that we can adjust and adapt and move based on who the quarterback is, and that's easily done. And I thought Getsy did a nice job of that, along with the rest of the staff.
Before we get into the details of the game throughout the rest of this hour, losing is difficult. Period. If you can separate this for me, and maybe you can't, but from a player perspective, how do you handle that? And from your own self.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the mantra we've been setting. Even at the beginning of the year, we won our first game. Then we end up beat Houston and all those things. It's the same thing. When you go on a winning streak, it's the same exact message that the performance is the performance. It's over if you win by 3, or you lose by 3. It's always the same. You got to look at it the same. How can I get better? And how can I keep doing the things that I need that I've been doing well? And I think that's all you got to do. For players and coaches, and it's a partnership, So that's what's nice about our player-coach partnership is that they're in it together, So if a player plays well, coach did a good job. If a player needs to improve, coach needs to help him improve. So he's always got that partner with him.
You have to represent in a very specific way as head coach, as the CEO of the football team. At a private level, is this eating you up?
Well, I mean, obviously losing is it doesn't no good. Obviously you want to win. It's a win business. This is a business that you're judged by wins and losses. But we're building from a young football team. This is not rebuilding. We're building a team, and that's the big difference that people have to understand. And we're excited about the foundation that we're laying, and it's going to be really good for the future because these players are going to be here in the future, and they're going to know the foundation and the standards in which we operate, and they're going to be able to teach it to the younger guys and the new acquisitions we bring in as we go along with this process.
How do you convey a message that when you're getting guys off that you're playing everybody, that they feel like there's support there because they're running out of bodies, so to speak. And even now for the final 5 games, they don't know. There could be new guys coming into the mix, out of need and necessity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say that we need to do a better job in the second half when guys do go down, of guys stepping in and operating. Because we had to, Mooney goes down, Eddie goes down, Riley goes down. He was pretty early, but when guys step into that role, they have to do a good job of operating. What does that mean? That means getting your alignment, your assignment down. That's pre-snap. Know your job, do your job, so to speak. And we got to do a good job with that at all levels, offense, defense, and kicking. And I think we need to do a better job of that in the second half.
We'll touch on it later, but just for people joining the show just now, the strategy now continues to be the same with Justin this week, right, as it was last week.
Yes, it's day-to-day, and we'll see where he is. Like, again, I said at the podium after the game, it's about mobility and strength. And when he has the mobility and the strength in that left arm that he feels and the medical staff feels that he can perform at a high level and perform the way he wants to perform and the way we think he can perform, then it's a green light, and then it'll be so. But until that point, it'll be day-to-day.
Before the game, I always ask you the name of the game, and yesterday was which team was going to run the ball better and take the ball away.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, it was 12 carries for 26 yards in the first half, and they ended up running the ball on us in the second half. The takeaways, were really, we had one at the end. It was pretty even right there, but they ended up running the ball a little bit better than we did. So, but again, I thought we ran the ball pretty well. I think Montgomery ran the ball. You saw a lot of nice runs by him. The offensive line did a really nice job in that regard.
Snap to Simeon, clean pocket throws, back of the end zone, fighting for the ball, Pringle or Reed. It's Pringle for the touchdown over the middle, battling with the cornerback on a laser throw by Trevor Simeon, a 4-yard touchdown, and the Bears have taken the lead on the Jets.
Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show with Jeff Joniak. It's Bears head coach Matt Eberflus breaking down the Bears and Jets from yesterday. Just heard the touchdown, Byron Pringle. Break it down for me from Trevor Simeon.
No, that was a good drive. The first 2 drives there, we had a couple of explosives. To the halfbacks. On checkdowns, that was really good. Obviously, the big fade to Claypool, that was a nice play where he caught the ball. And then obviously going into the second quarter, the play you're talking about, we just heard was the Pringle catch, and what a really nice catch by him. I thought it was a good design by Getsy down there in the red zone. It was an in-breaker towards the middle post, and Simeon had some pressure on his right side, and he ended up delivering the ball, and Pringle made a outstanding catch. It was basically off the guy's helmet, ended up taking it in, being strong at the catch point, and just not being denied at that moment.
Reed doesn't give up touchdowns. It was the first touchdown against him in over 850 snaps, pass coverage snaps, which is a lot.
Yeah, which
is a lot.
Good catch by him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right? Good catch indeed. Let's talk about David Montgomery, back-to-back 100-yard from scrimmage games now, and he actually passed Mike Ditka for 11th on the Bears' all-time yard from scrimmage list with 4,550 yards in his career. So anytime you can pass a Hall of Famer, no matter if coach didn't get the ball as much as today's tight ends, but that's pretty doggone fun to hear.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good company too. Coach Dick is outstanding, but for Montgomery to be able to do that, that's certainly an accomplishment. But he's been running hard all year. He breaks a lot of tackles, and he runs with a purpose, and he's always knocking it forward. So he's pretty special that way.
And he was doing it in the fourth quarter when things seemingly were getting out of hand, down 21. He's still doing it.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
Yeah, he's got great fight and great determination.
And then with his hands, I think we doubled yesterday the amount on average, like 2.5 catches a game to the backs. But yesterday was double that. Could that be something of the future that maybe will enhance the offense.
Yeah, I think Justin said has talked about that in the past. About taking the check downs. And we did it in really good fashion there. We had man free coverage. We dumped it out down to D there, and he did a nice job of taking it down there. So one was also man coverage. It was quarters coverage, which basically man on the backside, the one that Montgomery had. But it was both great catches and both great runs afterward.
Yeah, and you're talking about Darrington Evans, too.
Yes, Darrington Evans. Yep, that was man coverage for sure.
26-yard pass. That was first drive of the game. Chase Claypool, 2 for 51. Again, showing exactly what he's equipped to do. Those 50-50 balls, attempted fade in the end zone with Sauce Gardner on them. Those are fun plays to see.
Yeah, and it's a good matchup. It doesn't matter who's covering him because he's such a big body. We always say those guys are always open, because of how big their catch radius is. And, when you throw the fade or the back shoulder fade right there, those are hard to defend for sure. And he did a nice job coming up with the catch.
All right, let's talk defense. 466 yards of offense by the Jets. That was the most surrendered this season. What was the big takeaway from you after watching the tape
I would just say that in the first half was more of the passing. We ended up giving up some big passes. I think it was almost 100 yards in 2 passes. One was both were over the middle.
Yeah.
One was the one Eddie got hurt on. So we just got to do a better job of tackling. And keeping those things limited. One of them was on third down. I think we were in 2-man, and then Eddie came up and shoulder tackled the guy. And he bounced off of him. He's got to wrap that up. And then the second one was just an deep in cut, which I think Matt Adams had a chance to pick that play. He just missed it, and he's just got to rise up and catch that. And again, that's when Eddie hurt his foot. So we lost our middle of field safety, and they ended up running all the way in for that one. But so 2 plays right there is 100 yards of offense. But again, overall in the second half, we have to do a better job tackling. We didn't tackle really well when they ran the ball. Again, I think they ran the ball 32 times. I want to say they ran it 12 in the first half. So we just need to do a better job with our fundamentals and tackling and angles and cupping the ball and doing it the right way.
Yeah, I was asked this last night, because once the tackling thing becomes a topic, it's hard to tell people how are they going to fix that in practice. Well, I said Matt Eberflus and his staff don't let these things just go away. They'll go back to the fundamental teaching of what they want, specifics. And is that simply the way it is?
Yeah, if you watch all the tackles yesterday, we're just tackling too high. We're a low tackling team. We call hamstring tackle, where we grab the hamstrings, pull them in, and our top of our shoulder pads are at waist level or below, and we run our feet for 3-yard steps. And yesterday, during that game, for whatever reason, we were tackling higher, and we kept stressing the guys on the sideline. And I know they have smaller backs, in there, and I know that Sanborn was really tackling them high a couple of times and running them and putting them back on his back, but at the end of the day, that's going to get you in trouble because you got to take a man's legs away when you tackle, and you got to tackle him low.
Back to throw in a 4-man rush. Throws out to the outside. Montgomery the catch. Breaks a tackle 40, 45. Midfield. 3rd down and 6. Montgomery, 26 yards on the catch and run, and a Bears first down. Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show with head coach Matt Eberflus, calling all Bears fans. Get the ultimate VIP fan package with Chicago Bears VIP. Secure a game ticket and appearance from Bears legends and more by visiting ChicagoBearsVIP.com. That was the aforementioned Dave Montgomery 26-yard catch in the first quarter that we touched on, just his ability to get open, make catch, and then make people miss after the catch, something that the Bears incorporated yesterday. We touched on that. I want to go back to the tackling thing, though. You get the old players, and they say, well, it's all attitude. It's all want to. Is that also part of it? You got to really want to do it, even if your fundamentals are going to be right on. If you're not willing to stick your nose in there, did you see any of that creeping in, or fatigue in the fourth quarter, or just not being lined up right, or a little bit of all the above?
Yeah, I would say that the old-timers are correct because it does take desire. You got to have the want to do it, and the desire and the inside grit to be able to make a good tackle. So we didn't see a bunch of that in terms of, the guys doing that and not having the desire, but it's more technique. There's more technique in bringing their feet on tackles and then putting their pads in the right position.
No Brisker, no Gordon yesterday on top of it. So let's break it down. DHC had 9 tackles, the most he's had since a game a few years ago. I've always said, whatever role you put him in, he's going to perform professionally. And was that the case again?
No, DHC's been great. He's uplifting to others. He really works hard. He did a good job in there yesterday, and made a lot of tackles. He made a lot of tackles. But, again, you don't want your secondary making a lot of tackles. You want your defensive line, your linebackers leading the way in that regard. And typically when you have a corner or a safety leading the tackles, you're not playing very good run defense.
That's happened a time or two this season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it has.
Like 5 or 6 tackle leaders are either a linebacker or but the defensive line. Is this the area of greatest need and of improvement right now?
Yeah, I would say that certainly our front seven needs to do a good job of stopping the run. It starts with those guys. It starts with those guys playing their gaps. Those guys, fighting and competing to stay in their gaps with good technique and good fundamentals. Like Justin Jones, I think has done a really good job of improving upon that. He's really improved the last few weeks of staying in his gap. You certainly noticed him yesterday. He was really doing a good job at the 3 technique of staying in that B gap, making plays on the backside. So we were really pleased with the way he played yesterday. But it goes for everybody, even the defensive ends. When you're running outside zone, you got to be able to set your arm, okay, and then make sure thing doesn't get too wide for the rest of the defense. But we have to improve that way for sure.
What do you think of the, Rod Marinelli always pondered it in my head about takeoff, get off, takeoff, get off. Have you guys switched that up over the course of the season on how they attack the line of scrimmage with footwork and stuff?
No, we have not switched it up. That's been the same. We're still a penetrating defense. We want to play on their side of the line of scrimmage. And, the get off is the most important thing, and then be able to set edges on the front side, stay alive on the back side, and do a really good job with our fundamentals.
A really good conversation with Travis Smith this past week when the assistants are available to the media, and I talked about, okay, do all these guys have a toolbox? I'm talking about the defensive line, toolbox. Right. And one move, you go to move, and then you have
one counter.
Yep. And he goes, they probably don't all have that counter yet. How long does something like that take? It
takes time. It does take time. Like for a guy like Dominic Robinson, it takes a little bit of time for him to be able to figure out what his fastball is and then what his counter is. And that's all you need. You only need one fastball and one counter, but they should both look the same, on the approach. So when you're approaching that rush, it should both look the same. So it's your fastball and then the counter to that. And again, that varies by guy, but you got to audition some things. You got to try things out. And it's not always the same, it's really the same move for you, but you can make it look differently for different types of pass setters. So it's important that you have that always playing that game inside the game.
Some of the best that have had that ability to maybe even throw a third move in there that you worked with.
The guy that I worked with is DeMarcus Ware. He was obviously very special at that. I also had on the other side Anthony Spencer, from Purdue. Both those guys had a ton of sacks in the same year. So pretty special year for us. But when I was with Dallas, and those guys were remarkable at throwing their fastball and then having a counter, and they worked, in conjunction with each other. And what they did mostly was when it was crunch time, they came up big. So when it was 2 minute, when it was during the passing situations, they were either making a sack or making a strip sack or pressuring the quarterback during those moments.
Maybe save a special fastball for crunch time, right?
Yeah. They would hold it back. They would hold it back to the very last play that when it mattered, and they would throw it, and it was pretty special to watch.
So a 2-by-2 formation. Snap, gonna give it on the read, and Jack Sanborn wrestles down Michael Carter down near the 29-yard line of the Jets, a gain of 4. Boy, he hits you and he fights you all the way to the ground.
Great seats available to see your Chicago Bears this season at Soldier Field. Get your tickets at chicagobears.com/tickets. Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show with head coach Matt Eberflus. Just heard one of many tackles Jack Sanborn had, 14 on the day. That is a single game record for a rookie in Bears history. Did you know that?
I do now.
I mean, that's something, considering who played this game and had good rookie seasons.
No, that's really good. And, obviously we've had a lot of good backers here, with the Chicago Bears over the history, some of the best of all time. That just shows you his instincts, and his ability to read and react, and spring into action. And his block protection is really good too. So he's done a good job with that. And he had a lot of tackles yesterday for sure. And he's continuing to progress really well.
Block protection. What are you referring to?
Yeah, so the ability to keep blockers off of you to get to the ball carrier. So as a linebacker, and I've been blessed to coach a lot of good ones, is that their ability to keep blockers off of you, because your number one goal is to hit the ball. So you hit the ball, the guy with the ball, you're hitting him. So, or you're intercepting the ball or punching the ball out. So the number one goal of all linebackers is to hit the ball, and part of that is tackling. And to get there, you have to use block protection. So it's just basically varying ways how the blocker approaches you, and you have a bunch of different tools you can use to keep those guys off of you.
All right, I want you to define instincts, because Tom and I had a little back and forth in the broadcast, but I said, the instinct to just get to where you need to go and fire and trigger quickly. He goes, that's preparation. Can it be both? When people say this guy's got great instincts, how would you as a coach define it?
Well, first of all, it's innate. Most of it. For example, last week at Atlanta, DHC caused a fumble on the punt. We punted the ball to them. They returned it. DHC and Jack are in coverage, and DHC causes the fumble. Who's the first guy to jump on it? It's Jack. Why? Because he sees it the fastest, and he's able to react the fastest. So there was 5 other guys standing there, but why was it him? Well, it's because of his instincts, his ability to see and do right now, and that's what it is. And I've been fortunate to coach, Sean Lee, Shaq Leonard, like I said, DeMarcus Ware, all those different guys that are all pro players, and every one of those guys had great instincts. And can you help a guy have better instincts? Sure. I've obviously working with those guys, where my eyes and why, and that helps them tick a little bit quicker and helps them become elite, almost like they know what the play is there before it is there. For example, screen passes, tosses, they're actually running to the play before it actually snapped. That's preparation, but they still have to have the innate instincts to be able to see things in front of them and diagnose quickly. For a linebacker and you're standing behind the offensive line, you're looking at the halfback, but you can see and feel the lineman in front of you. So you feel the steps of the halfback, and then you feel the line in front of you. You see polars, you see the zone action, you see linemen jumping up through you, and then also it's instantaneous reactions of how you react to those plays. And then also knowing when it's play action and be able to get into windows and pick passes off like we did at the Detroit game. Jack Sanborn jumped in there, didn't bite on the play action. He was right there and picked off that pass to change the game right there. So, I've been fortunate to be able to work with a lot of those guys. I think Jack does have really good instincts. I think he does have that ability to tackle, make a lot of tackles, and take the ball away.
44 tackles. If the organization does not move on from Roquan, he doesn't get these kind of opportunities potentially. So is he a revelation for the future?
No, I think it's great, with all these young guys playing, from Dominic to Sanborn to Gordon to Brisker to, all of them. Every one of those guys that are playing there with us right now, and some guys are going to get some more action, with some guys going down. We'll see what happens, but to me, it's really good for those guys to bank all those reps, because it's so important, because you don't get those without getting that experience.
Snap, sidestepping to the pocket. Simeon going to launch down the right side, going for Claypool. Adjusts, makes the catch.
Now they'll call
and a flag on Sauce Gardner. That's a big play from Trevor Simeon on 2nd and 11. He picks up 31 yards and a Bears first down.
All right, back in the Bears Coaches Show, just heard one of Chase Claypool's catches, the 31-yard fade in the first quarter as the Bears get ready to take on the Green Bay Packers this week. Not sure who's going to be on the field. We'll learn more as the week rolls on, and that's standard fare, but a lot more injuries this week, as you touched on. If you're just joining the program, we always like to update you. Darnell Mooney is lost for the season, will likely need surgery to repair an ankle injury, and a bummer for the room, too. A lot of guys look up to him, and I know this, the relationship and what has become of Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney, but that 45-minute practice after the practice, and it was, what they learned about each other, the subtle things that great receiver-quarterback combos will benefit from moving forward, whether it be a look, a nod. That was happening in those sessions.
No, it's great. They're building a great bond for the future, and that takes time. And those guys spent a lot of time together from all the way back in the summertime. I think they were back down there working out in Georgia, I want to say, and all the time they spent during training camp, and all these sessions, like you said, 45 minutes after every single practice. And those are all banked hours. Those have not gone to waste. Those are things that are going to really apply to the future. And those guys are excited about their relationship, not only on the field but off the field, and both great teammates and great Bears for the future, for sure.
I like what you just said, banking to the future, because people can all just assume, okay, well, this roster could get a major upgrade again or a turnover next season. They always do, at least a third of every roster. But whoever remains here, everything that happens, does it roll over?
Yes, it does. I said it in the presser today, earlier today, that, we're laying foundation for the future, and that's important. It's a standard to how we operate. How do we operate in meetings? How do we operate in practice? How do we operate in walkthroughs? How do we operate in the game? And the standards are the same for everybody. So and it's the coach's job to hold the standards. It's not the player's job to do that. Now, will they be a great example of standard? Yes, they will be. We'll be able to point to those guys, and they'll follow by example as we acquire new players, as we draft new players, and so forth. Going forward. But that's the most important thing. That Justin Fields is the example, is the standard. The players that we have in the building are all the standard. And we can just point to them and say, hey, just do this. And they'll actually teach them by modeling that behavior.
So, committee of players that you have, I think it's numbers 14, Leadership Council. How have they presented to you, if you can talk about this? I don't know if you can. Just how the defeats have hurt them, or how it's making them feel, and the bigger team chemistry and so forth.
And I think it's really it's taught us to be resilient. I think it's taught us, through adversity, you only get stronger. If you let adversity defeat you, then guess what? You're defeated. But if you have adversity as a learning lesson, as a tool to get stronger, then it helps you, because we all know in life that we've all been through adversities, right? Well, what did you learn most from, success or adversity? Well, when you had a setback, you learn more about yourself. You learn more about the people around you, okay, and how can I improve? How can I improve myself, okay, to get better in any aspect? And I know we're talking about football, but that's really in life. And I think that those guys are learning that. They're all young guys. They're applying these lessons, and they're banking these lessons for going forward. And our eyes are always forward. We're ready to go for this Packers week coming up. We're excited about the challenge, and the guys will be ready to go.
How has it been for you to have a locker room and a building that respect is important, obviously? It's something taught from the top down. It's what's asked about. But, you're not putting out a ton of fires other than injuries, but no trouble, in addition, because – again, when you're not winning, it happens. It happens. It could be really detrimental, or a disgruntled veteran that's, you're counting on to set an example, and it goes the other way. That is not going on here.
No, and what's proof of that is that we've had a lot of veterans, that would step up, either because they're honorary captains or not whatnot. And they said they've never seen the morale of a team be this high with this many adversities going on at the same time. And the guys sticking close together, respecting each other, working hard, coming to work every day, and putting their best foot forward. And the guys have done that. And that's really just the culture that they've built. We set the standards of, being on time, working hard and respecting each other. And then we model that behavior as coaches. But really it's the players that have to do it. And they've been doing it since day one. They're continuing to do it. I told guys in the locker room before Thanksgiving, after practice that day, I said, hey, you guys going anywhere? And I said, Urlacher used to invite anybody who was, Eddie Jackson did. House full of people, apparently. Guys who didn't have anything going on. Right, no doubt. It means he cares about his brothers. He cares about his teammates, and wants them to be part of a family. And he invited him into the home. So that's
snap, play fake, stands in the pocket, throws over the middle. Catch is made. 40, 35, 30, 25. Evans breaks the tackle. 15. Spins down inside the 10.
Darrington Evans, a 33-yard catch and run. Welcome back to the Bears Coaches Show with Matt Eberflus here from Hallis Hall. Didn't know a lot about him. Didn't have a touch this year for the Bears. Third-round pick of the Tennessee Titans. Brought him in. Looked really good during training camp. What do we know about Darrington Evans? Because there's a veteran aspect to him.
Yeah, Darrington's, did a nice job. We've seen it all along in practice, and he got himself elevated, from the P squad a couple of times, then finally got a standard elevation and to the 53, and did a nice job of his opportunity. And what I know about him is he's fast, he's elusive, he's very good at catching the ball, as we just heard out of the backfield. That was man-to-man coverage. And what he did with it afterward, he bursted away from a linebacker who's a really good linebacker in the league. Bursted away from him, and then he broke another tackle. There was a guy who came off man coverage, and he split two basically, and then was knocking it forward all the way down, almost scored. So he had a couple of nice runs too. Had his pads forward. He split in two, knocking guys, like we said, forward, and we're excited about where he's going.
All right, here's a bunch of different topics. The Trenton Gilline kickoffs. outstanding. He's got quite the leg for that.
No, he's got a strong leg, and he can really boot it. And, we want a high hang time. We want it to land on the goal line there because we want the team to return it because we got a good cover squad. Certainly he's our guy for that. And, Kyra does a nice job of it too, but it's good to have the 1-2 punch because they both have strengths when it comes to kicking the ball off.
Had some big punts as well. Though I did hear you say maybe a little more hang time, or what was it?
Yeah. So when he's got obviously a tremendous leg, but when he hits it that far, like when he's in a backed up situation, he's trying to flip the field. But we got to make sure that we got better hang time on some of those. He really, someone was like 62 yards in the air or something. You just got to have a little more hang time. We'd rather have it 55 yards in the air with some more hang time so we can get the coverage down there so the guy doesn't catch it before our coverage can get down.
So take a little bit off his fastball.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Scheduling quirk. No road games in December. You're probably thrilled because they've been front-loaded and there have been a lot of trips. It almost feels like it every week. Last time this happened for the Bears was 1964. So no road games in December. Are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, our players are too. We're excited about getting back in front of the Chicago fans. The greatest fans in the world. So we're excited to get in front of those guys and and get us a big win.
Velus Jones on kick return. We'd all like to see him return it. You got him situated. Don't take anything if it falls behind you or whatever. I'm assuming that's wherever his heels are. Would you maybe just like to see how it works out? Or are you more worried about field position?
Yeah, we do that every week. We adjust that where he takes the ball from. Sometimes it's 2 deep, sometimes it's 3 deep, sometimes it's like a lot yesterday. I think it was 1 yard. He was sitting right at the 1 yard mark. So that changes week to week based on the cover team, based on what we think we can do. But we certainly want the ball in his hands on the kickoff return.
So if he is he glued to a spot also? Say it's a yard or 2 deep and you're giving him the green light, but it's a little bit to his right or a little bit to his left, or
yeah, he's not glued to a lateral spot. It's more of a horizontal. If it's deep, into the end zone.
All right, what you're thinking with the bye week? I know you got Packers first, but does this group just need to recuperate and just get the whole week?
Yeah, well, like last week, I knew the guys felt they were a little bit, tired because of the, just because of the length that we don't have a bye week until week 14. So I did a walk-through practice last week and then kind of a jog through the next day and then, full speed Friday. So the guys, definitely need some rest, once we get past the Packers and, it's going to be a much needed for those players.
Would you ever consider giving Tevin right tackle snaps?
No, that's a good question. We like Tevin at right guard. He's done a great job there, but we're going to look at all combinations. We have, Leatherwood could be in there depending on where Riley is, and we'll see where it is, and we'll decide that as we get through the week.
And then when Justin does get back, would you like to see more of the passing game just for more further evaluation and see what you have for the future?
Yeah, I think we're going to want to see the whole offense. We want to see the whole offense. We're going to do what we do, and certainly we'll have some things schemed up for this week, and we want to execute those the best way we can. But Justin, we'll see where he goes. He's day to day, but we're hopeful.
You're gonna have a hard time keeping him away from a Bear Packer game. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now it's time to look ahead. Brought to you by Bet Rivers, the official sports book partner of the Bears. Packers coming to town here on Sunday. They lost to Philly 40-33 last night. Aaron Rodgers already with a broken thumb, apparently, left with a rib injury. We'll find out more about his status over the course of the week as well. But the wow of that game was the rushing yards put up by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I touched on this with you a couple weeks ago because it's not just the Bears. It's other teams getting these 250. Now, 363 yards rushing. Is this the new NFL? It's week 12.
Well, I think when you have a 2 or 3 pronged attack, like a Justin Fields, a Herbert, and Montgomery, I think that creates a lot of numbers. Just as they have. They got some good runners over there, and obviously they got Jalen Hurts. That's and they got a dynamic offensive line, and their scheme is hard. So. That's one of the better offenses in ball right now.
All right, how about the Pack? A little different team, both sides of the ball, injuries and whatnot. But one of the key differences is the expansion and performance of Christian Watson. He's tearing it up.
Yeah, he really is. He's done a really good job, and he's obviously an explosive athlete. That we're going to have to deal with. You saw the play last night. It was a really good play, and when the backup quarterback was in, Love, and he's an exciting player.
And then is a banged up Aaron Rodgers a dangerous Aaron Rodgers like all the great players. They seemingly put aside whatever ailment, sickness, or whatever, and sometimes have legendary games.
Yeah, he's still making some dynamic throws. You saw last night he made a couple throws. One of those touchdown throws was pretty cool to the halfback. So he's still got it.
And then you have to get ready now also for Jordan Love just in case. Maybe
Yeah.
you would anyway, I'm assuming. But
No question.
Yeah.
No question you do. And, Aaron's been hurt through his career and always, shows up and plays. So we're anticipating him playing, and we'll see where it goes during the week.
And then, do you say anything special about Bears-Packers this week? Round 2?
Yeah, it's round 2. It's Bears-Packer week. We're super excited, and we have to get ready to go.
All right. Good luck with your preparation.
All right, thank you.
Thanks to our producers, Keith Johnson, Andy Gersher, Dan Barilli, and Jordan Tretta. For head coach Matt Eberflus, I'm Jeff Joniak, back at Soldier Field for a noon start against the Packers. Our pregame gets underway at 9. Stay tuned for Pittsburgh and Indianapolis here on Monday Night Football on 780 AM. Joined in progress. News continues on 105.9, where CBS News at the top of the hour is next. This is News Radio 105.9 WBBM. Good night, everybody.